singing over me. You've been so good. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Lift it up, oh, the overwhelming. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah, oh. When I was your foe, when I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so good. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, when I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so kind. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah. Oh. Shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No, there's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No, there's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, grace and love of God. Sometimes I find there's a fork in the road. Should I stay? Should I try to climb higher? To do what I'm made for, to know the good shepherd, to breathe in the air of the mountain, fill my lungs with the air of the mountain. You are my holy guide, my vision in the heights, miles and miles high. I don't see you getting tired. Oh, good shepherd, I follow where you lead, 'cause your steps have tested the strength of the ground before me. Oh, before me. And fear cannot hold me. I'm set on the mystery. Your invitation is calling. The faint is my strength. You're my eyes. You're the way. Give grace to my faith, so I'm climbing. You give strength to my day, so I'm climbing. You give strength to my day, so I'm climbing. You are my holy guide, my vision in the high, miles and miles high. I don't see you getting tired. Oh, good shepherd, I follow where you lead, 'cause your steps have tested the strength of the ground before me. Oh, good shepherd, oh, good shepherd, you're faithful to take the lead. The way may be long, may be wild, but I know you're with me. You're with me. I know you're with me. Oh, the foothills are no place for me anymore. Even broken feet could not keep me from seeking the one who faced death out of love for me. Said, follow me, so I'm following. Oh, the foothills are no place for me anymore. Even broken feet could not keep me from seeking the one who faced death out of love for me. You said, follow me, so I'm following. You said, follow me, so I'm following. Oh, good shepherd, I follow where you lead, 'cause your steps have tested the strength of the ground before me. Oh, good shepherd, you're faithful to take the lead. The way may be long, may be wild, but I know you're with me. The way may be long, may be wild, but I know you're with me. faithful you'll be. We pour out our praise for the way you lead. Oh, faithful you are, faithful you'll be forever, forever. Good shepherd, follow where you lead. 'Cause your steps have tested the strength of the ground for me. Oh, good shepherd, you're faithful to take the lead. The way may be long, may be wild, but I know you're with me. Oh, the way may be long, may be wild, but I know you're with me. God, I know you're with me. I have bowed at the altar of the world and its light. Now I long to return to you. You alone can satisfy. I have wasted affection on the things you despise. Now I long to return to you. You alone can satisfy. My bread of life, my bread of life, you're my provider. You fill my soul with living water. Beneath your wings there is a shelter where I hide. God, you alone can satisfy. Oh, there's no fortune or pleasure. There's no fortune, no pleasure that this world can provide. They have failed and they always will. 'Cause you alone can satisfy. You're the treasure that I found. You're the treasure that I found. You're the meaning of life. You're my deepest desires fulfilled. God, you alone can satisfy. My bread of life, my bread of life, you're my provider. You fill my soul with living water. Beneath your wings there is a shelter where I hide. My bread of life, my bread of life, you're my provider. You fill my soul with living water. Beneath your wings there is a shelter where I hide. 'Cause God, you alone can satisfy. You alone can satisfy. My bread of life, my bread of life, you're my provider. You fill my soul with living water. Beneath your wings there is a shelter where I hide. God, you alone can satisfy my soul. You alone can satisfy my mind. You alone can satisfy my heart. You alone can satisfy. Oh God, you alone can satisfy. You alone can satisfy. God, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to be here in your presence. God, you are the only thing that can satisfy us. Everything else won't last. Everything else doesn't measure up. God, thank you for this time we have together. We love you so much. God, stay in this place. In your name I pray.
Is there a green light? There. Okay, hi. I wasn't going to flash you or anything. Okay, first of all, I know where I'm at. I'm at Bullard. And you have a pastor here that is a gifted artist. I've watched him at summer camps present this wonderful presentation of art and storytelling, and it's just been a treasure. And so I felt intimidated. So I thought, when in Bullard, do like David does. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit today about this group of guys that used to hang out with Jesus a lot. You know what we call them? Disciples. Good. See, you must read a Bible. Something like been in church for a while? Yeah, okay. So there's this group of disciples that were with Jesus. So I need to get some images here for you, and don't try this at home. David, let me know if I'm getting it close. Okay. And then you do this, right? And then you do this. Yeah, and they're all praising. This one here is going to have his hand on his hip. Okay. I don't know what that is. Yeah, really. It was a different time. So, all right, so you're impressed. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need some more here. Okay, and some more and some more. All right. And they were all, yeah, they're just heads. Use your imagination. Okay. And they were all with Jesus. Hold on. They were with Jesus. Okay, so, and Jesus, large in his case, was with his disciples, and it was one of those moments where they'd gotten away from the crowd. He kind of pulled them off to himself, and he wanted to have a little quiet family conversation, if you will, okay? And I want to share this scripture with you, which comes from Matthew. It's one that kind of stood out in my life when I was a teenager, still is today. Matthew 16, verses 13 through 18. Hear these words. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" And they replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others, Jeremiah or one of the prophets." But what about you, he asked. Who do you say I am? And Simon Peter answered, You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And Jesus replied, Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. So this is a story we probably have heard before. How many of you have heard this story before? Yeah, if you're from Pleasant Retreat, you've heard it before, okay? You may not remember, but you have. And so it's a passage that's really important in the Bible because it's a turning point for the disciples in Jesus. It's a time in which he's taking their relationship and he's moving it to a different level. A lot of us in our circles have connections with other young people, other adults. We have circles of relationships around us. And there are ways in which those relationships can sometimes move to a new level. You share an experience together, make a trip together. Your family takes a vacation together this summer. Or maybe you spend some time, so you go through a crisis together. There are ways in which we bond, we connect, and we grow stronger and better because of it. And one of the things I learned as a kid was, and I say kid, it was a youth. I reached a point where I was not actually really involved in the church. But I lived over in Brownsboro, Texas. Anybody know where that is? The other side of Chandler. All right. So I grew up over in Brownsboro, Texas. And y'all are rivals with Brownsboro, aren't you? From Bullard? Huh? Oh, okay. Maybe not. Okay. There we go. I like the attitude. Okay. Nobody, they rival us, right? So anyway, my point was that whenever I was at the point of trying to figure out if I wanted to even be a part of a church, I was mowing yards, and it was real simple and easy, a way to make money during the summer. And the church at Brownsboro got a new pastor, and I was getting the yard ready at the parsonage next door to the church, mowing the churchyard. When this car pulls up, the doors open, and he gets out, and I right away I'm like, he's got that pastor look. He's a pastor. And then this other lady got out with her hair all fixed and everything. That's got to be the pastor's wife, right? I'm thinking, well, that's not too bad. They look kind of decent and everything. But what I didn't expect was when the back door opened up and this girl got out that was really, really a pretty girl. And it kind of really caught me off because she was my age as well. And she was very pretty. And she's getting out and she's just waving, and they're looking at the house. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, she just waved at me. And I'm mowing the yard. And I don't know, maybe you could call it a divine appointment from God or whatever it might be at this point. But I began, as I finished mowing that churchyard, to have a conversation with God where I said, God, I haven't been going to church very well or being active in a church anywhere. And I need to go ahead and find a church for my life and get myself, I think this church is a good church to come to. And I started making an agreement with God that I would start going to Brownsboro United Methodist Church because of the preacher's daughter. And so I started attending church, and didn't take long till I learned her name was Melody, and she was pretty cute in person. And so I had perfect attendance for a while there too. And then we started this youth group thing with some of the youth getting together. And my sister decided to start coming to church as well. I have a younger sister. And she would bring her friend. And I had a friend. His name was Doyle Lynch. And I would bring him. And we'd have 5 of us there. And then she started bringing a boyfriend. Star quarterback for the football team. 7th grade and 8th grade. Yeah. So God began to work on me and work through me a little bit, and pretty soon I got to know her dad pretty well, and he started asking me to do some farm work for him, and I got to know the family better, and we all kind of became a core group, 5 kids in a little bitty church in Brownsboro. I mean, you can't play a lot of games with 5, but you could get creative. We had the roof ball, where we'd have the roof, we'd throw the ball, it'd roll off the roof, and you catch it, and then it come down and you catch it, and so, and ping pong. We had ping pong. That was good. But we got into this routine where we had a volunteer youth director would come every Sunday. Now, as it turns out, he was also our Sunday school teacher, and I did some work on Saturdays for his dad and him as well. And so, but he was my Sunday school teacher and then my youth director, volunteer youth director. And Sunday afternoon, this is exactly how it all worked. You would show up around 5 o'clock, and we would go into the youth building there, the little room that we had with the ping pong table. We'd play ping pong or we'd play on the piano and make noise, okay? And we'd wait and we'd play games and goof around and talk and visit with each other. And then in a little bit, the door would swing open and in would come this volunteer youth director, Ronnie. And Ronnie would come running in, and he'd have a package of cookies under his arm, and he'd have a little pitcher in his hand. He'd come in, and we'd mix and make Kool-Aid, and then we'd have our cookies, and we'd sit down at the table, and he would open the package of cookies, and he would take 2, and then you pass them around. And they would come around, and you get your 2 cookies, and you pass them around until the cookies were gone. And we had our Kool-Aid and our cookies, and we would talk. And he would usually teach a lesson or something, or have that time in which he would kind of interact with us. So it was a lot like this moment where Jesus is with his disciples. He kind of had a routine with them too, where they would retreat, they'd get away, and they'd have some conversations together. And then the day that I'll probably never forget was the day when Ronnie came in. He was running a little bit late. We mixed the Kool-Aid. We got the cookies. We sat down. He opened, and they were Oreos this time, that was up the standard right there, right away, got your attention. So you're paying attention to see if there's going to be any left when they come back around. And we're doing the cookies, and he says, guys, I've just had such a busy week. I didn't have a chance to prepare a lesson today. So I just want to go around the table and let us each share something about ourselves. That means everybody has to talk, right? So it was an awkward moment for us. Well, you heard this passage, what Jesus was doing. He's with his disciples, and he kind of pulls them away from everywhere, and he says, guys, I have 2 questions I want to ask. The first question is, who do others say that I am? And I don't know about you, but if Jesus were to walk in this room right now and sit here in the midst of us and going, yeah, this is pretty cool. I like this. Music's been great. This is wonderful. And what a great preacher. What a great speaker you got here tonight. And so he would kind of marvel at all that. But then what if he turned over and leaned over towards you and he said, hey, what are your friends saying about me? Would you have an answer? It's kind of like a pop test. Because I can picture here the disciples, they're all, yay, Jesus, we got T-shirts, woo! And they're proud of him. They're excited about it all. But he's pulling them aside now, and he's saying, so what are people saying about me? Who have you heard them say that I am? And I can kind of see in that moment, it's kind of like when the teacher calls on you in class and no one wants to make eye contact, right? And you're sitting there for a moment and you don't know if you have the right answer, if you have the best answer, but you know if it's quiet too long, somebody's got to say something. So they finally started throwing some things out. Some say that you're Elijah or Moses, a great prophet. And Jesus is going, okay. But I know in that moment they were probably saying to themselves, have I really been paying attention? How many miracles have I watched? How many times have I seen him heal somebody, or have I heard him teach? And so when the crowd says, surely this is the Son of God, or this has got to be the one, the Messiah, and I wasn't really paying much attention to it at the time, but now wait a minute. He wants us to listen for that and pay attention to that and listen to what other people are saying. And then Jesus says, okay, well, let me ask a second question. Who do you say that I am? Boy, if Jesus were in the room right now and he leaned over to you and he said, who do you say that I am? Maybe he called your first name and he said, who do you say that I am? Do that for me. Say your name. I want to hear it. Say your name. Who do you say that I am? Do that for me. Your name. And now say, who do you say that I am? Say it to yourself. Richard, who do you say that I am? Go ahead, do it. Feel the energy. Okay. But maybe you catch my point here. Because that was also a very awkward moment probably when the disciples were like, I don't know. I haven't thought about that. I don't know I have words for that. And there probably was a lot of silence there. And then Peter somewhere in the back, unnoticed, puts his head down and says out loud, you're the Messiah, the Son of the living God? Now he's remembering the things that he's heard, right? And Jesus says, yes, that's it. You know what? And it's on that I'm going to build my church. It's that which is going to be the rock, the cornerstone of the very foundation of faith that we're about to get into. And he wants them to take it to another level. You're not just a groupie. You're not just a follower. You're in a process of hearing and learning who I am and growing in your understanding of who I am and making it yours. When I do confirmation, I always find myself in a place where I have to remind these young people that they've been relying on their Sunday school teachers long enough. And it's time to start finding out what you believe. You get to become the theologian that gets to decide, do I really believe that Jesus is the Son of the living God? Well, back to my story about Brownsboro. 5 kids, actually 6 now with the boyfriend. I guess I'll count him. Yeah, he does. I still talk to him. But anyway, so I'm forgiven, though. It's okay. But so we're sitting there at the table, and Ronnie says, I didn't really have a lesson today, but I thought maybe we'd go around the table and just talk about who Jesus is to you. Can you believe it? Just like the scripture, he in that moment says, I just want you to share who Jesus is to you. And I'm like in a panic. Luckily, I was sitting across the table from him, so I knew he wasn't going to start with me. So he starts over here and goes around the table. Well, I cleverly get up and reposition myself so that I'm going to be maybe the last one to speak here at this point. Because I'll be honest with you, I didn't have words yet of what I wanted to say. I mean, I knew I believed in Jesus, and I accepted him. I loved being in church. I loved the connection I started to have with Christ in my life, but I hadn't yet put it in my own words and assured it in a way in front of everybody else, my peers. And so we went around the table, and here's what I heard. I heard my sister's best friend say who Jesus is to her. Her name's Deborah. I still stay friends with her even today. And then I heard my own sister say who Jesus was to her. Her name's Rhea. And I got to be honest with you, I grew up with her. I mean, I knew when she was at her best. I knew when she was at her worst. I knew her quirks, her good points, her bad points. I had seen her without makeup. I had seen her, half-dressed. A lot of things that I knew about my sister. But I'd never heard her say that before, who Jesus was to her. Going on around the table, the football star shared who Jesus was to him. The preacher, his name was Ronnie. The preacher's daughter, Melody, shared who Jesus was to her. And then it came to Doyle Lynch, my best friend, the one that he knew what girls I liked and didn't like, and I knew what girls he liked and he didn't like. We knew that we didn't or did like our parents. We told each other everything. But I'd never heard him talk about who Jesus was to him. And I got to hear it for the first time. And then it came my turn. And I suddenly realized that I didn't have to have some great thesis put together at all. All I had to do was speak from the heart and be honest with myself and with the others around me of who Jesus is to me. Jesus is a great friend when I need him. He's someone that can love me when I have trouble loving myself. And he's someone who can believe in me when I have trouble believing in myself. And he's someone who will listen to me when I'm not sure I could say that to anybody else. I found myself sharing with these people who were intimate in my life, I thought, for the first time who Jesus was to me. What I want you to hear is this. That was a life-changing moment for me. Because every relationship I had at that table, I still have today. And I could pick up the phone and speak to them about anything I want to, especially my faith. And a lot of times we go through life where we have our best friends, our best friends, our best friends of best friends, and on. But do we ever talk about who Jesus is to us? Do we listen to who Jesus is to us? You guys are starting school again, and I remember those days when it was tough because you had this label. I mean, I remember one time as a youth director, David, you'll appreciate this, and Katie, we bought these Christian T-shirts for everybody in the youth group. And they were like proud and loud church, Jesus, yeah. And I said, okay, we're planning a trip to Six Flags, and immediately, are you going to make us wear our shirts? What, Six Flags is out of bounds? Is that what you're trying to tell me? You can't wear that shirt in Six Flags? You know what I did. Yeah, you're wearing your shirt in Six Flags. We're going to wear it and be proud of it, The point I'm seeing here is that there's a way in which these questions change our relationship with Jesus. And Jesus knew that. And this was the point he started building a connection with them that was going to grow this church that you and I are part of today. Built around people who are willing to listen to one another and hear the stories of faith and willing to own and share the personal stories of faith. You know what would be great is if a worship service would start with this. Let me tell you what Jesus did for me. Let me tell you where I saw Jesus this week. Let me tell you what I heard about Jesus this week. Let me share with you something that I discovered about Jesus this week. If we could learn to build on this context of who Jesus is for us, it grows and it helps us to get more and more intimate in our relationships with each other and with Christ. We go through worship, and sometimes we miss that point. Hello. That'll be my cue. But we have that point and that place where we need to discover that what it comes down to is who Jesus is to you. I want you to take a moment and just reflect how you would finish this letter. Dear Jesus, you are, what would you tell him? How would you put it in words for yourself, based on your experiences, based on what you are learning and have learned about him? Where would you put a question that you might ask that would help you learn more about him? You see, I think when Jesus said, "This is the rock that I will build my church on," he was helping them to understand that there's a foundation to our faith which starts with who Jesus is to you. And no, it's never a perfect answer, by the way. I'm still answering that question even today. After years of seminary, years of ministry, years of youth directing, I've heard a lot of people say what they think and who they believe Jesus is, and I'm still growing in my understanding as well. And the gift is that I don't know I'll ever have a complete answer. It'll be a letter that I'll just keep adding to and adding to and adding to in the course of my life. So let me encourage you. When you're in school, when you're in church, when you're at home, with your family, when you're with your circle of friends, in whatever context you want to put it in, take the opportunity to hear what others are saying about Jesus. Ask if you don't know. Build that intimate relationship that you could have with somebody. And then build the courage in you to be able to share more of what you believe about Jesus and who Jesus is to you in your life. I still celebrate today that there were 6 of us that were challenged by a youth director who forgot to have a lesson ready to answer the question of who Jesus is to me. I got to know every person there in a better way than I could ever imagine. And that bond is still there today. So as we close, I want you to consider the ways in which you can know Christ better. By your experience, by your sharing, by your listening, and by your just being in his presence. Okay? Let's pause for a word of prayer. Lord, I thank you for this gift that we have in you today, and the boldness of a question that invades our lives perhaps we didn't expect to test today. But the truth is, it's a message that's going to be finished with our answers. Help us to discover more and more who you are in my life, in their life. Help us discover more and more what we believe and how we value the things that you treasure. And let us understand the deepest relationships we can have in this world are built around Christ. Thank you for your gift of spirit and presence that we find. Because the truth is, every time we ask that question about who you are, you always bring an answer. For every heart now that seeks you, God, plant that seed of understanding that will help us grow in our knowing you. Amen.
your friendship is intimate. I find I'm moving to the rhythms of your grace. Your fragrance is intoxicating in our secret place. Your love is extravagant. Spread wide in the arms of Christ. There's a love that covers sin. No greater love have I ever known. You considered me your friend. Capture my heart.